It's time for some damn good tacos in college football. We're excited to announce our title sponsor, Torchy's Tacos, for the Arkansas Football Report with Otis Kirk, and the new addition to the Hogville.net family, the Arkansas pregame show starring former Hog running back Marshall Foreman, hosted by Jason Pattison. If you're looking for a place to unwind and call the Hogs, Torchy's is the place. Torchy's location on MLK in Fayetteville is the proud host of the Arkansas pregame show, and it will air 2 hours prior to kickoff of each Fayetteville home game. The Arkansas Football Report airs every Thursday at 7 p.m. in Rogers. Check out the full-service bar on the patio or in the restaurant while you cheer Arkansas on to victory. Torchy's has you covered with the daily drink specials or the taco of the month with their queso that's made in-house fresh daily. Torchy's has 2 convenient locations in Northwest Arkansas, which happen to be the only 2 locations here in the great state of Arkansas. They have you covered for some damn good tacos, and go Hogs. And everybody, welcome to the Arkansas Football Report with Otis Kirk. I'm Jason Pattison, and thank you for joining us this evening. It is April 17th, 2025. I also want to say a quick thank you to Carbless Cocktails. You can catch any of their 9 different flavors that are 0 sugar, 0 carbs, and 100 calories. They do have a spring line that they've released a couple of weeks ago, and you can pick them up at any of the major retailers or exclusively at Torchy's Tacos. Also, click the like and subscribe button to the Hogville YouTube channel, which you can catch all of our past shows with Otis, Dudley, Kevin, and Marshall. Be sure to stop at either of the 2 Torchy's locations in Rogers or Fayetteville here in Northwest Arkansas, which happen to be the only locations here in the great state of Arkansas. Try their queso, pair that up with their taco of the month, which is, I do believe, the Vagabond, and you can pair that with the taco of the month or any of their great tacos on that board in the back and open up your taste buds to a whole new world. Otis, how's it going this evening, my guy?
It's going good. It's going good. Of course, they got softball. Arkansas and A&M is supposed to be on the SEC network, and they've got softball on there. Just like ESPN, they don't allow enough time for games, and they overlap, and you can't watch anything.
I'm telling you, that's the thing too. Softball, baseball are going to get wrapped up by tomorrow evening, and so that kind of clears the way if they can get the spring game in. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I don't know if Mother Nature is going to give the almost dominance for that to happen. But if it does happen, gates open at noon, kicks at 1 o'clock, and we'll have you covered for any and all things spring game.
Hopefully, if it's just raining, Sam goes ahead and has it. Because if it's not, now if it's lightning, obviously it's not going to happen. But if it's just raining, they should allow fans to take umbrellas and stuff in there. They don't during the season. I get that, and it's because it's packed. You know, you hit people in the head with umbrellas and stuff. But with the spring game and being spread out like that, I don't know why you couldn't take an umbrella in there. And if it's just raining, now, I mean, if it's lightning, obviously, like I said, it's a no-go for obvious reasons. But I'm hoping if it's just rain, they go ahead and play. But who knows? I mean, it does this every year. I'm just glad it's not having it in Walker Pavilion. That's a cluster when he tries to have a spring game in there. They've done that 2 or 3 times. And it's just too crowded for fans and players and parents and everybody in there.
I was going to say, I almost think that the parents are going to outnumber the media that if it was inside, just for the simple fact of all those recruits that were coming in for OVs and UOVs.
Yeah, I have no desire to cover it in the Walker Pavilion. I hope they have the game. Like I said, I've said all along, I like the spring game, but I wish the weather would cooperate once in a while. But I wish they had this last Saturday because it was beautiful last Saturday.
Oh, good Lord. We sat out there, you and me and John, and
it's beautiful, man.
There's times where you go out there and you can sit on those bleachers and it be 65, 70 degrees and you're roasting your rump off just because of all the heat off the turf. But it was beautiful last Saturday.
No, wonderful day, man. And I just wish it was that way this Saturday, but it's not. And of course, it's kind of pattern. I mean, I remember it flooded one year when Beelum was here. It really flooded. Raleigh Williams got hurt in that Walker Pavilion that day, and he ended his career. And I just don't like spring game in there, But I remember Pippen had it in there his first year, I think, maybe second year. And it was sun shining outside. It rained that morning, but it quit raining and came sunshine. He packed everybody in that damn Walker Pavilion, and it was packed, and fans griping because they couldn't see because the media was in their way. It was just a cluster. I mean, of course, they came to me because they know me, and everybody said, "Can you tell the media where are we supposed to go, man?" I mean, I'm not telling the media anything. They don't listen to me. I mean, where are we supposed to go? I mean, there's a great field out there that they could have had this on. It's not raining, and Sam wanted it here. So and that was dumb that year. I mean, it was just there was no reason to do that. He panicked early that morning and scheduled it in there, and it quit raining. It was beautiful outside that day, and it was a waste of time. But Saturday, I think we'll see. But I hope if it's just raining, they go ahead and have it. We'll be in the press box where it's dry, and we can keep notes. But if not, we'll have the autograph session. There's been people asking me about that. It's going to go on regardless of the game. They are going to have the autograph session. I'm not sure what time. Somebody said 3:00, but I'm not sure about that. But somebody can find out. I'm sure Kyle will announce something on that or something. Maybe
I was going to say I haven't seen anything from Kyle yet on any of the extracurriculars after the fact. So
he usually sends something out on Fridays a little bit more. I'm sure he'll cover that, and they'll know more about the weather by the time Friday afternoon gets here. They should have a little bit better feel for what it's going to be like. I mean, like I said, if it's raining, that's one thing. If it's lightning, I did hear Dan Scoff say earlier that there might be some times Saturday where, maybe not Saturday night, but Saturday during the day, there might be some times where there's a gap where there's an hour or two, maybe. I don't think he said an hour or two, but he said there's some time where the rain pauses, the storm pause. So maybe that'll be from like 1 to 3, noon to 3, and they can get that game in, and then whatever happens after that happens.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, 2 years ago, I think that Sam's hand was kind of forced for the fact that ESPN or SEC Network was also covering that live. And so I think that was one of the reasons why they did what they did, because I think that there was no way of them not having it one way or another because of TV itself. So I think that was kind of one of those things that he was kind of up against, and he didn't really have a say so in it. So,
yeah.
But I want to get to something really quick. Something you've talked about, you wrote about this week. And it's something I had mentioned at the beginning of spring practice. And I feel like you kind of, amplified it a little bit more with the backup quarterback situation. I want to get into that a little bit because we already know who the starter is going to be.
Yeah,
that's been, that's been decided since last year. Mm-hmm. But with KJ and then the maturation of Madden over the last 4 or 5 weeks, Madden made strides that nobody thought he would make.
He's really impressed me. I wasn't impressed with him the first practice or two, but Saturday, he wowed me. I mean, I'm telling you, I think he'll be the second string quarterback, and I feel better now. I was wanted to ask Sam first, and I asked Bobby. I said, you don't have a Malachi sitting over there on the bench. Do you feel comfortable if Taylor gets hurt? Do you feel like by September you'll have a backup quarterback ready to go in there? And they both said, yeah. And and I kind of scoffed at that, but now I see what they were talking about with Madden. I see now where I think if Taylor did go down, which you hope he doesn't, but if he does, I feel a lot better now than I did then. Think this is just what, middle of
Yeah.
April. By September 1st, Madden will be even that much better. And I think I like KJ. And I'm not saying KJ can't play or he'd kill it. I mean, I don't think he'd hurt the team either. But I think Madden's I don't think it's so much KJ's bad. I think Madden's just that good. I really do. I don't think it's a knock on KJ. But they may have two backup quarterbacks there with Madden and KJ. But I do feel like Madden has made more strides. Maybe trying to think, he and Cross Johnson, trying to think some kids from the first, not so maybe Cross Johnson as much as I didn't know much about him, but he's really impressed me with his receiving and stuff. I don't know what he'll be in the top 6, but he's somebody when they signed, I kind of went, why'd they sign him? But now I see why. He's not bad. He's not bad at all. So Cross Johnson, I've been impressed with. Mm-hmm. I'm not talking about the obvious Fernando Carmonas, the Taylor Greens. So those are obvious ones, Xavier Sorey. Trying to think of names for the fans that maybe not are mentioned every day, but Madden, to answer your question, I'm really impressed with it. Well, you were there Saturday. I mean, He gets the ball out, throws it, and he's made leaps and bounds improvements since the first week of practice. Not just the first practice, but the first week.
What I've noticed too with Madden's ball that might be a little bit different than KJ's is when KJ's comes in, it almost comes in almost nose down a little bit, which doesn't give the receiver as much surface area to catch the ball as Madden's does. Madden's comes in more of a straight line drive almost. It has arc to it, but whenever it gets to the receiver, it's still flat, which you're giving a lot more surface area to.
Yeah, it's not a bullet either. I mean, he's not throwing it like I remember Joe Ferguson used to throw it so hard the receivers couldn't catch it, but Starter did that some. But
Robert Johnson did too.
Yeah, but Madden's throws a good ball. I really like him. I don't know how good he'll be and all this stuff. And, you never know 2-3 years down the road. But I will say this. On April 17th, I feel a lot better about the backup quarterback than I did whatever that first week of spring football was. I will say that without hesitation. Completely different.
And the one thing that fans look at and say is, hey, why are we still remembering Malachi Singleton? I mean, at this point, whenever fans go, I don't know when it happens next, if it's going to be in 2 days or if it's going to be in 4 months. Whenever fans see the backup quarterback come in, they want to not remember Malachi Singleton. They want to remember either KJ Jackson or Madden Iamaleava. And so whenever they finally get some eyes on these guys, I think it's going to put fans at ease too. I mean, it's put us at ease because we've seen it and we can report it. But there's some folks out there, they have to see it before themselves. I get that.
Yeah.
And so
the problem with that, though, is they didn't see Madden the first week. So they're going to go out there Saturday and they're going to see him and they're going to, they're not going to know the improvement he's made because they weren't there the first week, the second week, and see since spring break how much he's improved. That's the problem with that. I mean, I get I agree with what you're saying, and I get why people would want to see it for themselves because we've reported stuff, all of us have in the past, that didn't turn out to be true. It just happens. Yeah. But so I don't mind anybody seeing it for themselves. But like I said, the issue with that is the only issue really to me is they didn't see him the first week or two, so they're not going to see the improvement that they are going to see. I think they'll be impressed with what they see Saturday, assuming he plays, assuming they play. I think fans will be impressed with what they see from him. And I just wish they'd got to see it from week 1 to week 5, whatever it is, week 4, week 5, whatever this is.
And honestly, the biggest improvement that I've seen, I'm not sure if you would agree with this. I think you might, but the biggest improvement are 2 areas. One, accuracy, because beforehand he was throwing all sorts of balls behind guys. Now that accuracy and the timing are starting to coexist with his the touch on his ball. So the thing is that whenever he was here that first week, you cannot prepare yourself for the type of speed it is from high school to a high D1 at Arkansas. Well, he's adjusted over 5 weeks. I think that's the 2 biggest areas that has excelled him even with KJ at this point.
Yeah, and the thing that's impressed me in that regard, what you're talking about, he's adjusted to the speed of the game. He's not throwing interceptions like he was that first week. The only interception thrown Saturday was Dalen Green, and it was the ill-advised throw. He threw it right to Sorey. I don't know what he was doing. I don't know what Talon was doing, but he threw it right to Xavier Sorey. So it wasn't like it was just a pass that got away from Talon. He just made a bad read. I don't know. But the thing about Madden is, and even KJ, they didn't throw an interception. KJ and Madden were both throwing a lot of interceptions the first practice or two, the first week or two, and they're not doing that, or they didn't do it Saturday. So that impressed me. And then I don't remember Madden throwing either the previous Saturday. So I like the fact that the kids adjusted to the speed, like you said, and not throwing interceptions. I mean, obviously there's a lot of things about it, but cutting down those interceptions, that's something Taylor's got to do. And I know Taylor. I mean, I love the kid, but he's got to cut down on his turnovers. Not necessarily so much interceptions as fumbles, just everything. He's just got to cut down on turnovers. If he does that, he's going to be dangerous, because that kid, when he gets out in the field, man, he can run. He's so big. He's Matt Jones Part 2 out there in that open field.
Yeah.
Because tall like Matt. They don't necessarily look like they're running that fast, although they are, but they're taking such long strides. I mean, God help somebody gets in Tylen's way, because he's tall, he's fast, and I love the kid. I really do. I know a lot of people don't like him as quarterback. I do, but I think we can all agree he's got to cut down on his turnovers. That's what scares me with him. It scares me with all quarterbacks, to be honest with you. They just got, I mean, it cost them the Oklahoma State. I'm not saying Talon cost them the Oklahoma State, but turnovers did. Turnovers cost the Missouri game. And turnovers as a team, not necessarily. Talon didn't have all of them. I mean, Jack Quindon and Satana and other people had them too. So it wasn't just on Talon. But I'm just saying they've got to cut down on turnovers. This team, if they do that, they can win some of these games. They're going to be bubble games. I mean, they're right on the bubble where 51-49. 60-40 against Arkansas. So even the 70-30, they can turn a 70-30 adversity into a win if they cut down on turnovers and maybe force one or two.
Yeah.
From the other team. Win the turnover battle. I'm telling you, teams that win the turnover battle in the SEC win a lot of games.
They do. Got a really quick comment here from Brady G111. Hey, Jason, Otis, have you guys seen any pickups? Have there been any so far? And I'm going to say
the portal?
I think he's asking about the portal. Yeah.
No, not yet, but there will be some. And there's a defensive back from Texas El Paso coming in here next week. They haven't had any visits yet. Well, they had the one, Ashad Williams, a couple of weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. Yeah. He went to Wake Forest, I believe. He didn't come here. But they haven't had any visitors this week from the portal. But I think Sam's trying to get this Saturday out of the way. I mean, technically, they've only got one scholarship. That's the one where the wide receiver Parkview left. That's the only scholarship they've got right now. I think he's waiting till after the spring game. Some kids will announce it, and they'll get some kids. There'll be some visit. You'll see some movement on that next week, guy. There will be some movement on that. They're going to sign. I talked to Sam Tuesday, and I believe today's Tuesday, and he said about five kids, but right now they're at 84 scholarships, and they allowed 85. So they're going to have some kids leave, and that's why. He doesn't think it's going to be first and second string key players. Now that could change, but I think it's going to be depth players. He said they're dissatisfied with where they're at on the depth chart. That's what I've always liked about the transfer portal is kids that are buried on the depth chart. Maybe they came to Arkansas because that was their dream school.
Yeah.
They wanted to come here and they see that, hey, I don't think I can play there as quick as I want to. Those are the kids that I like being able to get in the portal. Kids that are using it as a free agency every year, I'm strongly against that. And I don't want people to sit there and say, oh, he's against players getting paid. No, I'm not. I am not against players getting paid.
It's abusing the system.
I'm against free agency every year, and not just football, but basketball, all of it. I don't like free agency every year. I just think that I've got some ideas on this stuff. I may write that way. And the argument about not stopping the transfers every year is, well, the coaches can leave, so the NCAA will get sued if they stop. Not if you have contracts.
Exactly.
You're under contract. When they leave, most of them have a buyout. So what you do, you give a player an option. He can take a 1 year transfer. Okay, he's free to leave after a year. But if he signs that contract for 2 or 3 years, he's got a buyout, Jason.
Yeah, that's one of the things you haven't seen quite
and
yet.
And they can sue because that's, you're going to say coaches can leave anytime. Well, players can too, but they're going to have a buyout. That's going to stop some of it. There's not anything. They can handle this better. But the NCAA they have no spine. They dropped the ball when it came out, and now you're just trying to make the best of a bad situation. But I'm against free agency every year in college sports. Hell, even pros. People tell, I don't like the pros because they have free agents. Yeah, but they sign contracts. Most of them are like 2 or 3 years. They don't, the better players are 2 or 3 years, 4 years. But you don't see the movement in pros that you see in college, man. It's gotten where if you don't like the pros because of free agency, you're not going to.
Yep. Also, Brady G says if they're going to pay players, there needs to be a salary cap. There will not be a salary cap unless there is if there is representation on the player's side to have a collective bargaining agreement. That's the only way you can have a salary cap at this point.
Well,
and I just don't see that happening. Maybe in 2 years, but not next year for sure.
Well, they could make some sensible stuff. And I think, when this first came out, players, if you just said we're going to pay everybody in football $500,000 a year, I think players would have jumped at that, Jason. But now they're wanting $2.5 million. And I'm telling you, man, you can't. That's not a system that's sustainable. You can't pay players $2.5 million and keep that thing going. People are going to run out of money eventually. Hell, the rich people, they don't have an endless bucket of millions.
No.
$2.5 million to one player. Come on, man.
There's a reason why rich people got money is because they save it.
$500,000, man, for 12 months. 500,000, 40-something thousand. That's 10,000, over 12,000 a week to ride around and play and have spend. I mean, come on, man, that'd be awesome money. And it'd be awesome money for me and you people at work, to get 500,000 a year. I'd love to make it. I've never made that much in a year in my life. But I've made 6 figures, but never 500,000. But no, I mean, they could, if the NCAA had a spine and not just put their head down and buried it in sand and tried to do some things when this came out, they would have done. They could have handled this a lot. This could be fixed. The system's not broke. It is as it is, but it doesn't have to be broke, Jason. But now it's going to be harder to repair. This is like you tear up, you have a flat and you drive the tire 5 miles. You've ruined the tire. It's harder to get it fixed after you've driven on it. It's going to be harder to fix this system now than it would have been at first. But it can be. It's not broken, but it's in bad need of repair. But it's close to being broken. But it doesn't have to be, is my point. Maybe it is broken, but it doesn't have to be, is my point. Yeah. And, there's some ways to fix it. And like I said, I am not against players getting paid, man. I'm not. Hey, and people ask me, what are they worth? They're worth what they get.
Yeah.
Somebody will give them $2.5 million. They're worth $2.5 million if they can get that. But I don't think that when you start giving players $2.5 million a piece, that system's not sustainable. People are going to run out of money eventually, Jason. It's just not sustainable. That's why coaches aren't getting $50 million a year. You can't pay that. No. And like I said, I'm never against play. I'm not against anybody getting paid. I'm not against anybody getting paid. Players, coaches, GAs, anybody. But if my bulldog could get paid, I'd be all for it, man. But
make him an internet sensation before you know it.
He needs to buy his food, man. That dog eats me out of the house at home. But anyway, but no, I there's some repair, but hey, man, I mean, I'm glad players are getting paid, but they've got to get a system in place that makes sense. This doesn't make any sense right now. This doesn't make any sense the way they're doing it. I want to talk about the fault. It's not the player's fault. Yeah. It's the NCAA for not handling this to start with the way they should have.
And I want to talk about the trenches really quick. Reason why is because really, I mean, last 15, 20 years, that's where games have been won in the SEC. Arkansas's offensive line was better than the year before, but this was the year that Sam was supposed to really get some guys in, improve that line. Your starting left tackle now has moved inside, which I think is really honestly the best fit for Fernando. Center is still kind of out there. I think that both of your ends are pretty much, as far as right left tackle, I think are pretty much set at this point. I think that Sam's got probably 9 or 10 deep, which I think he's pretty happy with. But the one thing I think that's going to hurt these guys the first quarter of the season is cohesiveness and working together. Yeah, they're going to work together during spring and summer. That does not, it pales in comparison to 4 or 5 guys that worked all together last year going into this year. So I think that really offensive line has got to really step up. I think that Sam and also Eric Mateos have got a really big job in front of them to make sure that they're going to be game ready, not game 1, but game 2, because game 1 really doesn't matter at this moment.
I talked to Carmona today. Well, he was depressed. I'm sorry. I don't want to sound like I had a one-on-one. I did ask him. I asked Fernando today. Yeah. I said, I don't know if you like to compare things, but how would you compare this year's line to last year's? He said, this is going to be a lot better offensive line. He thinks this is a lot, and I agree with him. He just thinks it's a lot better. You've got guys like Kobe Branham, Marion Harris, Keyshawn Blackstock, Shaq. You know, we know Corey. I think the left side's solid as it can be, man.
Yeah,
with Corey Robinson and Fernando.
Yeah,
and Fernando's a Lakers fan, by the way. But anyway.
But yeah, and that right side's starting to shape up too as well.
They got options there. That's the thing. It's not like they suck. They've got Kobe Branham, Marion Harris, Shaq, Blackstock, all those guys. See, I think center will be okay.
Demerville.
Caden Kidler. I think they'll be fine. You got Kavion Broussard, Marcus Dummerville,
Bubba Craig.
Oh man, the junior college kid. I'm going.
Is that Bubba Craig you're thinking of?
Who?
Bubba Craig.
Bubba Craig, yeah. So you've got options. That's the difference. It's not like you don't have options there. It's just that I don't think they've established exactly. I mean, if you went into next season on that right side and you had nothing but Kobe Branham, Marion Harris, and Shaq, I think you'd be in great shape, man.
Yeah.
I love those 3. And then you put Blackstock in there. You put Bubba Craig. You put Broussard. Fernando told me today that he thinks it's going to be a better offensive line, and I 100% agree with him, man. Yeah. I'm not on the phone. I'm trying to find what I want to read you exactly what he said, Jason.
Sure.
We got time. I'm going to read you exactly what Fernando said because I asked that question. It will be better than it was last year, and I know that for a fact. Just the way the group is, the way we've meshed, and you were talking about the way meshing, the way we've meshed. I mean, in these 15 practices and just the depth that we have, Marion can move in and out, Kobe coming back, having the knowledge, Caden coming in, talking about Kittler, Corey bringing in Corey, and then Shaq, Keyshawn, just come back for another year. Keyshawn did. A lot of these freshmen coming in, these guys are stepping up. So playing great ball. So that's what Fernando, and you can read it. I think, but you can read my story, I think. Yeah, I wrote it for Pig Trail Nation Hollywood. It's in my story, but I wrote about Fernando. And, so yeah. So, yeah, it's just – I think the offensive line – the problem may be on the defensive line, but we'll see. See, I think when you get Quincy Rhodes Jr., we sat there and watched him last Saturday, Jason. He had a good day. I think Charlie Collins can play. They may move Brad, the linebacker down there some. I think I love Charlie Collins. I love him. I like David Oakey. Cam Ball's obviously not even out there this spring. We know he's a player. He may be all SEC. So I think they'll be okay there. But, that's somebody asked about the portal. I think that's where you'll see 1 or 2 more additions before this thing closes. I think that's where you will see 1 or 2 more additions on that defensive line. I know the secondary is a priority, but so is defensive line. And I think you'll see some additions there. But I love David Oakey. Unfortunately, he's been hurt. Now, Walker's been hurt a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm supposed to say that or not, so I better get off that. But it's hard to. I forget that shit, man. I mean, I forget about the injury. So, but they. Well, I mean, Sam talked about Okie being out, so
If I'm not mistaken, he had mentioned David from the beginning press
he
conference
did. He did. He
before
first
spring
place.
even started.
Well,
So that's
Kanai Walker was out there Saturday. We saw him break up a pass. He stepped in front of the receiver, broke up a pass. So Kanai's back.
JJ Shelton had a hell of a game too.
Huh?
JJ Shelton had a hell of a game too, freshman.
Man, I'm gonna tell you, that kid
can fly.
Be a heck of a player at Hog. I mean, he was Dallas Morning News Defensive Player of the Year down there. He's not very big, but at Hog, he's pretty good size for a Hog.
Now he can hit like a ton of bricks too, because he was that kid that decleated that guy on the sidelines there.
Oh my God!
That put in my story.
My back still hurts because of that lick.
It was right in front of us too, and it was a thud. I mean, it was a crack like you don't usually hear during spring. It was nice.
I'm sure they heard that in the parking lot, man.
Yeah, and that was one of the plays that I had characterized in my story last week, because you don't hear a lot of that from the secondary, especially during spring practice. Also from a true freshman like that. So when you got guys like that, I mean, there are some guys in the backfield. I really feel like they're starting to set the tone. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was nice having the brothers back there last year that went on to Michigan, but I think that we're going to forget about some of these guys that left, because there are some playmakers back there. I know that you talked about Sam having a priority in the backfield and also on the defensive line. There's some guys on the offense that are going to have to scoot. And I think we haven't heard exactly who, but fans have, and what kids say these days, they got to let Sam cook for a minute. Let this whole thing kind of come to fruition right before the portal ends, and then take your inventory from there.
I hope they play Saturday, because I want fans to see this team. I think this team is going to be better than people think, Jason. Maybe not, but I do think they're going to be a little bit better than people think. But we'll see. I mean, we will see. But I think this team may be a little. It don't mean they're. I don't mean I picked them to win 8 last year. I'm sure I won't pick them to win 8 this year, because the schedule's tougher. You got Memphis and Notre Dame in the non-conference, and Arkansas State. Last year, you had Oklahoma State and three automatic wins. You don't have that.
Well, that one we thought was going to be an automatic turned out to be kind of a trudgery between UAB and also La Tech, which everybody had them kind of penciled in as like one of those. Oh, okay, we're going to mow these guys over, and they come up here and damn near kick their ass.
Well, Louisiana Tech and UAB would have beaten them, but they didn't have enough offense.
A little bit more red and sharp on that one.
Well, UAB, they got two. They've got Cam Shanks is on the Hogs now.
Cam Shanks,
several other players off that team. Arkansas recruited like an offensive lineman. I think he went to Ole Miss. The defensive back safety went to Georgia, I think, Florida or Georgia. So
might need to send Trindle for a Christmas card.
I mean, so Arkansas recruited. They got Cam Shanks, first team All-America punt returner, and good receiver. But and Louisiana Tech always has players. They've got players. I mean, they just don't have enough. But
great defense, just no offense.
Look, I read today, there's a kid at South Dakota, a 6'7", 300-something pound offensive tackle, the number one offensive lineman in the portal. He's from South Dakota.
Yeah.
And he's a 4-star, and he's in South Dakota. But what's going to happen, you're going to see these kids showing up in the draft, and you're not going to see as many football, those slower schools getting kids drafted, because they're going to leave before the draft. They're going to go to Arkansas, Georgia, wherever. And so that's why you're not going to see these schools. Used to, you watch the draft and you say, wow, who's he? Now, though, see, that kid won't go in the draft in South Dakota. He'll go from wherever, OU, Texas, South, Southern Cal, wherever. I don't know who else recruiting him. And, but that's why I'm saying, and it's going to change, just like, Cam Shanks now is at Arkansas. You just, I don't know, man. But it's going to be interesting the next week to 10 days. Because, the person asked about the portal, and they're going to sign some kids. But I think starting Saturday, you will start to see more of this. I think it will start to take shape Saturday, Sunday, and then next week. But buckle up, put your seatbelt on because it's going to be a ride next week. There's going to be some news on the portal fund. No, I'm not keeping something secret hidden. I'm just using common sense. I'm just saying, common sense tells you that's what's going to happen. But it's going to get busy.
I'm going to say one.
I think it's slow on purpose. So I think they want to get the spring game out of the way, see who's leaving, make it official, and then go get these kids. Try to get some players to fill in what they need. But I think you'll see. I hear people saying they might take a receiver. I don't know if they need one because you've got Antonio Jordan coming in, and I'm really super high on him, man.
I'm kind of wondering if they're using that as a smoke screen to get somebody else that they're already looking at. I know that Sam's done that before in the past. I could see that happening again.
I do know they wanted that kid from Stanford, the kid that went to Texas. 6'3" wide receiver. I do know they wanted him bad. They had their eye on him. They wanted him to come out at midterm, and he didn't. So he came out, but he went to Texas. I guess Arkansas couldn't afford him. But they had their eye on him. That I do know. They got Sissy from there. But they wanted that kid that went to Texas, and I do know that. Well, I mean, that kid's a stud, and he went to Texas. But, they like Ishmael, though. I mean, I think he'll be okay. I think they like what they've got, but I think Antonio Jordan can play. And they got the kid from out in California that's teammates with the Madden. He's a big kid. He's not as big as Jordan. Antonio's 6'6", 230, man. That kid's huge and can run.
Are you talking about Jeremiah Beck? No.
Who?
No,
not Jeremiah Beck. The wide receiver they signed in high school. It's not here right now.
Oh yeah. Antonio Jordan. Yeah, I'm thinking of Gavin Garrettson. That's the kid that came with Madden.
Gavin Garrettson was a tight end. But
from Pleasant Valley and Chino. Yeah. One guy that I think that folks are going to be super impressed with that when they are able to see him play is going to be Mike Washington Jr. I think that him and Braylon Russell are RB1A and RB1 or RB1B. I don't think that there's a lot of deviation between those two as far as their talent, size, and speed go. Because when you go out there and you see Mike Washington Jr., the first thing that came to my mind was that dude looks like a stud.
Jace Brown's who I was talking about, Jason.
Jace Brown. Okay.
Teammate of Madden. Jace Brown, 6'4", 200, wide receiver. And not here right now, but he will be this. He and Antonio will both go. In fact, I asked Bobby whatever day we had him last week. I think it was Thursday. Whatever day we had. Maybe it was Tuesday. It was Tuesday of last week we had Bobby. And I asked him about Antonio Jordan, and he mentioned Jace Brown too. Yeah. He thinks – I have to actually talk to Bobby away from the press conference about Antonio. Mm-hmm. He really likes him. I can tell you that. I ran into Bobby and that came up, and it's been a while, but I talked to Bobby a couple of months ago about Antonio Jordan, and he really likes him.
Mm-hmm. Really quick, Mike and them. He asked us. We kind of went over this a little bit earlier, but I want to touch back on it too for a second. He said that he's hearing great things about Madden. Is he going to end up QB2? That I think is going to be something that's going to be a huge storyline going into fall camp.
I think he will be. I wouldn't have said that 4 weeks ago, but I hit on that a lot early on in this show. Yeah, I do think Madden will be the backup. They like KJ, and I do too, but I just think Madden's a better quarterback. I do think he will be QB2. I really do. And I feel a lot better about – God knows you don't want Taylor to get hurt, but if he does, I feel a lot better about them putting in Madden now and not just completely going to hell, with the team now. Whereas months ago, I thought if Taylor went down, they're in trouble. But I don't feel that way now with Madden.
KJ's got the –
Saturday. I really do.
So I think at this point, the difference between the two quarterbacks is KJ's got the better legs of the two of them. He does. He has a little bit more escapability than Madden does, but Madden's got more touch and gives the receiver a little bit more of a chance to catch the ball than what KJ does. So I think that's what Bobby and them are really kind of measuring against, who's going to be the best fit behind that offensive line, because you have guys that have some intangibles that you have to be able to you're going to have to differentiate and decide which one you're willing to live with.
Bobby's the best offensive coordinator in the country, too. He is so smart. He will adjust to what those guys do, well, whether it's Madden or KJ. He will adjust and call plays that fit their strengths. He is a genius at that. He always has been, and nothing's changed in that regard. He's the best in the business, man.
I'm going to tell you something, too, real quick. Travis Williams is right behind Bobby as far as coordinators go, because after I read all of the press conference that you had sent me, one of the things that I noticed, he said, if this is who we have, we're going to adapt our system to the players that we have and not make the players adapt to their system. They're going to utilize those players to the best of their abilities and put them in the best spots possible. Whenever you have a coach that says that, he understands his guys. He doesn't understand he understands the system, but he also understands that he's got to put his guys in the right spots to make the best plays. And that's what, it seems like whenever you kind of give a coach a little bit, not maybe the short end of the stick, but when you give them a little bit less to work with, they start to really dig into that brain of theirs as far as memory and what they did before and what works best with some of the other guys that they've had on their team. I feel like this is what's going to happen this year, that if they don't have quite the numbers that they need, they're going to find the guys that are going to fit the system to the guys that they have and put them in those best spots. And I think that sometimes it works better that way.
Yeah. By the way, the Hogs are down 4-2 in the second inning.
Ouch. What the hell?
Slugfest over
Jace Lavallette's so stinking good, unfortunately, and they've A&M has won 7 straight. It's really the worst time that A&M could come in here after starting.
Like Arkansas softball, they struggled out of the gate. Now they're playing good ball. Remind me a lot of the Arkansas softball team. Yeah. Similar situation. They struggled out of the gate. Yeah, they can play with anybody in the country. That's the way of A&M in baseball. Mm-hmm. But it's a long way to go. It's just the second inning, so.
I'm going to tell you.
Got softball.
This could be one of those 10-12 games tonight.
Top of the second, 2 outs. Runner on second, 4-2 A&M. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those 10-12 games again. I mean, it's probably going to wind up like what happened last week at Georgia as far as runs go. Maybe not the outcome, which I think Hog fans are hoping for, because dropping 2 or 3 at Georgia, I was telling Dudley this last night, Otis, that if last weekend was probably the best time that they could drop 2 of 3 in a series, more or less on the road, because there's a lot more time for recovery. And this time last year, this is when all hell broke loose and the wheels fell off of this baseball team.
Yeah. I'm not worried about losing a series. I'm not worried about losing a game. Baseball, it happens, man. What I am a little concerned with, I don't know if worry is the right word, but something I am concerned with is the pitching. It's not what I thought it was. And hopefully it gets better, because the pitch is not where I thought it'd be at this point. I really thought that would be a strength the first year, and it's not. I'm talking about mainly starting pitching. It's just not producing like I thought it would.
Well,
that can change.
Speaking of change, you got Gage that's going tomorrow night or tomorrow day, I think.
Yeah.
And then
I'm anxious to see it. I like that kid. I think that will help. Hey, you need all of them back. I mean, getting him, maybe letting him, get in there and see. I'm sure he'll be on a pitch count.
Yeah.
We'll see what he does, but I'm looking forward to seeing how he pitches tomorrow at 2 o'clock.
And then getting Aiden Jimenez in there, and I'm going to be honest with you. I felt like it might have been a bad move to move Gag from the bullpen to a starter, and I know that they talked about them doing that for this year, but I honestly think, hey, what's up, Bulldog? I think that his strength, Gag's strength, is in the bullpen. It's just going to take some time, but yeah, I think Gak is better in the bullpen than he is a starter, personally.
I think Gak will maybe taking him out of the rotation and letting him set for a week and come in out of the bullpen. Yeah, I imagine. I asked on Facebook, I think it was, or Twitter earlier, X. I said, I wonder if with Gage being on a pitch count, they might bring Gackle in to replace him when he goes out the park. If that's something Dave's thought about. He's thought about it, but I don't know if that's something he'll do. But I think that's an interesting thought, that maybe Gackle will come in, and maybe that's his calling, is out of the bullpen.
Yeah.
He struggled as a starter, Roots, obviously, we hadn't watched it, obviously, but Roots seems to be struggling tonight, and battles, Landon's had his ups and downs. They all have, all the pitchers.
Yeah.
Jimenez has really pitched well out of the bullpen. The bullpen's actually been decent. It's been
pretty solid.
Let them down. Yeah, it's the starting pitching that's let them down. I know Dudley will talk about that a lot more, but I cover it for the papers, and I didn't cover those last 2 games Saturday, man. I had food poisoning. I didn't cover anything Saturday.
I was wondering because we didn't hear anything from you, and then all of a sudden I saw it popped up
on
social media.
I ate a burrito. I got a burrito that was rotten. God dang, man. I was so sick. A bulldog was panicking. He couldn't figure out why I was throwing up. I threw up all night Saturday night. I didn't sleep a wink. He slept all day Sunday because he didn't sleep either Saturday night. He slept all day Sunday. I finally went to bed Saturday night, but it sucked, man. I'm telling you, that was awful.
Yep.
Yeah, that was awful. I don't ever want. I've had that before, but that kicked my butt Saturday night. I'm not going to lie to you. And the sad thing is, I pulled in a Chili's going to eat, and I backed out and went to Flying Burrito. And if I'd have went to Chili or to, your place there, I would have been okay. But
yeah, Torchy's.
Yeah, Torchy's, man. You got me some Trailer Park tacos. I'd have been in great shape compared to that rotten burrito, but I won't be making that mistake again.
Well, let's get you out of here. Don't eat no daggum burritos. Stay away from them. Come over and see us if you want to. On Saturday morning, 11:30.
Are y'all going to do that even if it's rained the game out? You're still going to do that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Rain or shine. We're going to be inside. Myself and Alyssa Orange are going to co-host. Got Terry Tatum. Got Limbo Parks. Donnie Sinners. Marshall Foreman. Luther Franklin.
Limbo
all going to be joining us.
Limbo will like this. I've got a story on Monte Harrison tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm going to do a story on Monte Harrison. I'm putting it together. I asked Fernando and Worth both about him today.
Yeah.
I've been asking some questions about him, and I think I've got enough now to run the story in the morning. Enough quotes from various people. So, I'm going to run that story tomorrow. I know Limbo will like that.
Good stuff. Limbo, you heard that? You better check it out on Hogville or free or on Picture Nation, which also is free.
It'll be both places. It'll be on the X, it'll be on my Facebook, be on Picture Nation Facebook. It'll be everywhere. It's all over the place. It'll be there.
So it'll be the spring football bash also at Torchy's Tacos on Saturday, 11:30. That group just listed. You can see it on our Facebook post and also on Twitter posts as well. 11:30 live. Also go over and check out the Hogville Hero series. This is what has driven this, is this great interview that I had with these guys. Is a 3-part interview. Stories that you would not believe, stories that you may have heard of that can confirm because it's coming from the people who lived and went through those stories. So be sure to check all 3 of those out on our YouTube page. I'll put those all together for everybody on hogville.net too on the Monday morning quarterback thread, so that way you guys can easily, since they'll be condensed and easy to find. So make sure to jump over there and check all of those out. I'll have those put back up there for y'all too as well. So for myself, Otis, and myself and Otis, we will see. Good Lord. Is it Friday yet, Otis? Jesus Christ.
See you, man.
All right. Y'all take care and go Hogs. Y'all, it's time for some damn good tacos in college football. We're excited to announce our title sponsor, Torchy's Tacos, for the Arkansas Football Report with Otis Kirk, and the new addition to the Hogville.net family, the Arkansas pregame show starring former Hog running back Marshall Foreman, hosted by Jason Pattison. If you're looking for a place to unwind and call the Hogs, Torchy's is the place. Torchy's location on MLK in Fayetteville is the proud host of the Arkansas pregame show, and it will air 2 hours prior to kickoff of each Fayetteville home game. The Arkansas Football Report airs every Thursday at 7 p.m. in Rogers. Check out the full-service bar on the patio or in the restaurant while you cheer Arkansas on to victory. Torchy's has you covered with the daily drink specials or the taco of the month with their queso that's made in-house fresh daily. Torchy's has 2 convenient locations in Northwest Arkansas, which happen to be the only 2 locations here in the great state of Arkansas. They have you covered for some damn good tacos, and go Hogs.